Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Erica with Memory Box Candle Co. and I make videos all about the journey of starting a candle business. In today's video, our topic is going to be on procrastination and imposter syndrome. So I actually think that these two topics pretty much go hand in hand. They kind of create this revolving cycle as business owners, and especially with us just getting started with business, or maybe you're just in the phase of thinking about starting a business, or you got started a couple months ago and you feel like you're in way over your head and your mind starts to take over and you start to think of things in a way that is very negative. It's a lot of negative self-talk. Both of these things in and of itself are negative. So procrastination, something I have been doing since a child. I mean, I remember there was a report that was due when I was in, I think, 5th grade, and I had to have it done. It was a whole project I had to do on the state of Texas. I had to have it in a binder. I had multiple essays that I needed to write. And I think pictures I had to draw. There was a bunch of stuff I had to put in there. And I remember telling my parents the night before, I need help because I waited to the last minute, and they were very angry, but they did help me. And honestly, I think looking back, I'm like, man, would I have wished that they would have just let me deal with the consequences of that? Part of me does, but another part of me does appreciate their help. You know, it's one of those things where I don't know how it would have affected me going forward. You know, I can't trust my parents to get me out of situations. You definitely don't want that, but you do want some kind of accountability. Granted, I was 10, but you're still at that time. I mean, that age really kind of is starting to learn a lot more about responsibilities and everything. But point is that I have been procrastinating for a long time. Now, I know that this is something that a lot of people struggle with and a lot of people go through is procrastination. And I have always been under the impression, and maybe you have too if you go through this, is that if I procrastinate, I'm somebody who has always procrastinated. My family procrastinates. It's just who we are. It's just what we do. I can never get on top of things. I'm always waiting to the last minute for everything. And then you start a business and you realize that there are qualities within yourself that you kind of have to readjust and learn that you can change those things. And the reason why I'm talking about procrastination is because I also wanted to talk about imposter syndrome. And like I said in the beginning, I think that these two things kind of go hand in hand, because we procrastinate because we don't feel good enough about doing something, or we don't feel like the work that we're going to put into doing something is going to create the outcome that we're expecting. Or if, you know, you just don't feel like doing laundry, you're procrastinating on doing it. That's a little bit different. There's levels of procrastination. But if we're talking about business, for instance, the example of if you're somebody who is wanting to start a candle business, but you think to yourself, I don't even know how anybody would want to purchase my handmade item. I am just me learning a skill that I am not an expert in. I don't know everything in candle making. I don't know that my candle is the best candle in the whole world. Why would anybody want to purchase my candle? And that is essentially the definition of imposter syndrome. It's something that makes us feel like we are not good enough to do something. You know, who are we to start a candle business with a craft that maybe we're not an expert in, and we're making these products and trying to sell them to people? I think it's different when people start a business and they're getting their products manufactured and it's a little bit more quote unquote real or professional, or however you want to put it, versus us in our kitchens making candles and then expecting people to pay $20 for it. You know, it's it's a different kind of mental structure that we have to change in that moment, because the imposter syndrome fuels the procrastination. Because if you don't feel good enough to do something, then you're going to keep putting it off, because the pain that you feel to go through that it doesn't seem worth it. It seems like that is going to not be worth the outcome if you start a business and you fail, or nobody buys from you, or whatever it is. We have that kind of barrier to entry that is that imposter syndrome. And a lot of it does come down to, we don't feel like we know everything about starting a business. If I don't know every single aspect of starting a business, there's no point in me even trying, because I'm not going to be able to do it, because obviously I don't know what these other people know. You know, if you're like me and you're on Instagram and you follow a bunch of other small business owners, not just candle business owners, but just small business owners in general, and they have these beautiful things going on and all these very, it seems like everything is very tailored, and they have everything put together, and they are so organized, and they have their growth, and they're just expanding all the time. And it just seems like they're so put together and they know exactly what they're doing. And then in comparison, when you're comparing somebody else in that moment, it really kind of fuels that imposter syndrome, because you're like, man, I can't be like this person. I'm just starting right now in my kitchen. I don't even know what wax I'm going to use. I don't even know what the fragrances I'm going to offer. I don't even know how to build a website. I don't even know any of this. And all of these things combined together just fuels this imposter syndrome. It fuels the procrastination, and then it ultimately fuels for you to wonder why you didn't start earlier. That is the main thing that I promise everybody always thinks once they get started with doing something. It's always, why didn't I get started sooner? And we know why we don't get started sooner, because that jump, that pain that you have to get through, the uncomfortableness, putting yourself into that uncomfortable situation, all of that combined just makes it to where we don't want to do anything. I actually posted something, this actually reminded me, I wasn't going to bring this up, but it's so relevant in this moment, is a quote that I posted on my Erica Marie Morris Instagram. And this is by Kristen Lore. And she said, growth is uncomfortable because you've never been here before. You've never been this version of you. So give yourself a little grace and breathe through it. And that's something that I think really should help everybody who is struggling with the procrastination, who's struggling with the imposter syndrome, because we know that growth and getting through that is going to be an uncomfortable feeling. And it's because you've never done it before. You don't know what it's like. You don't know how it feels to be in that situation. And we also don't feel how these other business owners are feeling in those situations. At each step of the process with your business, you are going to go through a bunch of different changes. The issues or the problems that I had a year ago are not the same things that I am going through right now. There's always problems to solve. There's always things I'm trying to connect together. And there's always things that I'm trying to grow within my business. And every single time it's getting through the pain to get to that point of where I want to go, is how much do I want this, and is it worth getting through the procrastination and getting over that uncomfortableness to get to the point that I want to be. So for instance, right now I am trying to do so many different things. I don't even know if I can name them all. But I'm trying to get very organized with my content marketing and content strategy that I have online. I'm trying to get extremely organized with that. I'm currently trying to get together all of the information to make a candle business online course. In also addition to all that, I'm also looking to expand again, in wholesale. I'm really trying to dive into that, as well as expand on my website, really change up my email marketing. I'm trying to change up my email marketing platform. And all of these things require me to get out of my head of the imposter syndrome and also stop the procrastination, because I will never get to my goal if I let those things take over. So what I hope that I can inspire you with today's podcast is I want you to take a step back on anything that you're struggling with, anything you've been procrastinating on, anything that you feel like you're not good enough to do, anything in that regard. I want you to sit down and ask yourself, why? What is the worst thing that is going to happen if I try to do all of this? And of course, you can go to the extremes and be like, I could be this much amount in debt, I could spend all this money on this business, and then it completely fails, and all these different things. So yes, you can definitely go to the extreme, but I think the main thing that we all don't want, that we all try to run from, we all try to avoid, is we are afraid of failure and we are afraid of rejection. And a lot of this stems from insecurities. A lot of the feelings that we feel in terms of those aspects, going to the extreme of, spending all this money on a business and then having it fail. I would actually argue that the monetary and the financial side of that, the devastatingness of that, yes, that's awful. And if you watched my video before where I talk about getting started with a business without going into debt, highly recommend that just so you don't have that extra pain going into it. But I think that more so, the biggest thing that we don't want is the embarrassment. We don't want to be known as somebody who failed. We don't want to go to a market and have nobody buy our candles and feel that insecurity. It fuels that insecurity. It fuels that imposter syndrome of what am I even doing here? And I think that the biggest thing, and I talk about this a lot, is the connection between business and personal growth is so strong that we don't realize how much of that is actually a mental challenge, it's a personal challenge, it's a self-awareness, it's trying to look at all of these things that you're doing of growing your business and also realizing that you're growing as a person as well, and you feel so connected to your business, it's so personal to you. So the thought of procrastinating or giving yourself the excuses of, I'll do it in a couple months, or, maybe I'll try to get a wholesale client, in a couple months. And I am so guilty of this because I had to really ask myself, why am I so nervous? Why am I making all these excuses on why I don't want to walk in to these businesses and ask them if they want to carry my candles? And the main thing is, I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to look dumb if they say no. I don't want to, feel these uncomfortable feelings, these anxiety-inducing feelings, which I've always tried to run away from my entire life. I mean, who hasn't wanted to run away from all of the anxiety, that feeling? It's a terrible feeling. But the only way to really feel better about it, the only way to really find the solution over that feeling is to do it over and over and over and over again, and keep trying and keep putting yourself out there. And again, I am working on this as well. Ever since my last video of trying to find a wholesale client, trying to go out, and find a wholesale client, I haven't done that because I put it off. Oh, I need to get my AC fixed in my car. Well, I got that fixed about a month ago. Why haven't I gone out and done that? oh, well, gas is really expensive. It's like, okay, well, what's the price of investing into trying to find a wholesale client? There's all these excuses that we always come up with in our heads. It's human nature to come up with excuses and really try to protect our own selves, which is fine and it's normal. But I think that getting over that fear and getting over the fear of rejection and the fear of failure and all that kind of stuff, and the fear of feeling insecure and the fear of feeling embarrassed, which is one of my biggest fears. The fear of feeling embarrassed is one of my biggest fears. And I think that's come from the fact that I turn red very, very easily. So when I was growing up, it was constantly, if I laughed too much, if anything happened of anybody saying anything like, oh, Erica, do you like so-and-so? I would immediately turn beet red and they'd be like, oh my God, you do. If anybody can relate to that, please let me know, because I think that really stemmed the whole fear of embarrassment for me and really just kind of amped that up and made it to where like everybody is gonna know if I feel uncomfortable. Everybody is gonna know looking at me if I feel anxious. So I need to run away from those situations. Wow, I think I just gave myself a therapy appointment. I haven't thought about that before in that kind of way, but it makes sense. But basically, what I want you to take away from this video is that don't let your procrastination and your imposter syndrome and your fear of insecurities dictate your entire life. Dictate what you do or dictate what you don't do, because you really never know what you can accomplish. And don't compare yourself to every other business that are 2, 3, 4, 5+ years into their business. Even people who are a few months in, everybody has a different plan. Everybody has different finances. Everybody has a different family situation. Everybody has different time. I know there's all those gurus out there that are like, we have the same 24 hours in a day. That's very true. But if you work a job you leave for work at 7 in the morning on your drive to work, you get there, you start at 8, you leave at 4, you get home at 5, and then you have the rest of the night. Maybe you can wake up early in the morning and work, but that's a little bit different than somebody who's able to work part-time, or they have a little bit more flexible of a schedule. So everybody is different. So just give yourself some grace. Just give yourself the permission to take your time and do it your way and figure it out and take the steps you need to do whatever it is. It doesn't have to be just the starting a candle business or starting a business or whatever. It can be if you're already in your business and you're like, okay, I need to figure out email marketing. That is something that I am going to work on and I'm going to figure it out. And there are so many different things to think of when it comes to that, but I am going to take the time and give myself grace during this learning process. And once I learn and once I get into it, I'm going to be so thankful that I took that time for myself and for my business to be able to do that. I have this phrase that I tell myself all the time is, what would my future self wish that I would have done right now? And I try to do that. And I mean, even in very simple kind of life situations, like doing the dishes the night before. So would morning Erica be happy to wake up in a clean kitchen with no dishes? The answer is yes. Even though I don't want to do the dishes right now, I want my future self to be happier. So even though I don't want to spend the time, hours and hours, struggling trying to figure out email marketing, future Erica is going to be so happy that I figured it out now versus procrastinating and putting it off because I didn't want to have to go through that, or I didn't want to have to try and then not be able to figure it out and then fail and then feel like I'm not good enough. All these different things. It's just different perspective on everything, and I really hope that this video encouraged you in some way. Hopefully for people who are also procrastinators like myself, we can all unite and understand the awfulness that can be procrastination sometimes, and it fuels all these negative things, and we can try our best to break the cycle of that procrastination. And I'm currently trying to do that. And the main thing that I have figured out is just getting organized and planning. Planning has made all the difference in feeling and getting over that procrastination. Planning is everything. But I think I'm going to end today's video right here. I really, really hope you enjoyed today's topic. Please leave down in the comment section below any comments that you have, anything that you feel about, or anything that you are struggling with, procrastinating on, feel like an imposter syndrome over, any insecurities, but also any goals that you have, anything that you are going to overcome to be able to get to that goal. And really start to think positively about everything and how you're going to get there, and know that you can get there if you overcome these things. And with that, I think I'm going to end today's video right here. I really hope you enjoyed. Leave this video a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to follow me over on Instagram at Erica Marie Morris. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.